Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Yarn Addict. My name is Anniken. I live in the southwest of England and I teach knitting workshops in person and online, and I design knitting patterns and I sell some beautiful yarn. This is episode 55 of the Confessions of a Yarn Addict podcast, and today I'm going to share what's on my needles, some finishes, some new patterns, a new organisational needle storage solution, and some stuff that was in recent magazines, some designs that are in recent magazines. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, and please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and please leave a comment. Really appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It's supposed to be the hottest day of the year today. It's 40 degrees forecast in some parts of the country, only about 30 down here in Cornwall, which is still very hot. Normally I work out first thing in the morning, then get dressed, shower and get dressed, and then work for an hour, and then I walk out for about 10 o'clock. But this morning I decided to take him out before I work out. So got up, had breakfast, got out. Alfie was actually keen to go out. He's not a morning person, but he actually wanted to go out this morning. It's been quite lively, which is unusual for him. Anyway, we're in our local park. Last year, the council, well, I think it's the council, it's quite a small park, but they planted these like wildflower areas all the way around the park. There's some more over there, and they put several really nice benches in, and it's made the park so much nicer. So we've just been through a heat wave here in the UK in the last few days. New heat record in the UK, I think, was set yesterday. Where I live wasn't that hot yesterday. We didn't reach the dizzying heights as some other parts of the country did, where it was over 40 degrees. Down here in Cornwall, I think we reached sort of low 30s, which is still very, very hot for down here. I did a lot of knitting. Last week was quite warm, and then earlier part of this week we had this extreme heat weather. I've been working on a cardigan for a magazine that was knitted, the back and the fronts were knitted separately, but then it was joined together and the stitches picked up for the sleeves, and the sleeves were worked in one piece. So I was knitting the sleeves on this sweater by the time I was knitting the sleeves on this cardigan, I had the whole piece in my lap, and I was working really hard towards the end of last week to try and get it finished before the heat wave started properly, because I didn't fancy sitting with that big pile of knitting in my lap when we got the kind of extreme heat weather. So I finished it, but I haven't actually sewn the buttons on, so that's one of the jobs I need to do. I've been putting it off because it's just been so hot, and this yarn I was holding a strand of DK and a strand of cereal pack and silk together, and I just didn't fancy doing that. So most of my knitting time for the last couple of weeks have been taken up by this cardigan. I've also done lots of swatching for magazine designs, and I just don't feel like I've done very much because there's all stuff I can't share, but I have actually done an awful lot of knitting. But a couple of weeks ago I was asked to take over a workshop this weekend. The original teacher wasn't able to teach it, so I was asked to take over a short notice, and it's a Mobius cowl. The last week I've been really immersed in Mobius knitting just to refresh my skills, I guess. So one of the things I wanted to do for this workshop was to knit up a new design very, very quickly, and I couldn't start it till I finished this magazine design. I actually have used the same yarn, so I used one strand of Vivacious DK from Fibre Spades, which I don't have anything left. I have a tiny little ball downstairs which I'm going to use for something else, and then I used this, which is Cumulus, also from Fibre Spades, which is a blend of baby cereal alpaca and silk. So it's a little bit like Kids Silk Haze, maybe slightly less fluffy. Kids Silk Haze from Rowan, quite a few companies do kind of mohair or baby cereal alpaca, often blended with silk, because it gives this nice fluffy yarn. And it's been very popular for the last couple of years to hold this double with a normal smooth yarn. So I did that for this Mobius. I've just realized I've got an end that I haven't cut off. I had to join in the a new ball of the baby cereal alpaca silk, and I actually knitted it in, and I realized I thought I had cut all the ends, but apparently not. So this is the Mobius cowl. I will probably release the pattern, but probably not till the autumn. So I cast this on Friday afternoon, I think, and then I basically spent all day Saturday in the garden because it was really, really hot. So I spent all day Saturday in the garden knitting, and then Sunday I was working on magazine design submissions, so I was knitting swatches all day, and then Monday morning I finished this. I just had like a couple of rounds from the cast off left to do. So let me just angle the camera down a bit so you can see all my mess on the floor. You can also see this a bit better. So if you are a smaller person than me with narrower shoulders, you can actually pull it down over your shoulders a bit. My shoulders are quite broad, so I can't really do that easily, but you can bunch it up around your neck. This is a larger version. There is a smaller version as well, and this is what we're going to be doing in Saturday's workshop. So I will probably release this, but probably not till the autumn. It's knitted in garter stitch, and it has these elongated and cross stitch patterns, and everything from like the center that way and that way is exactly the same. And the magic with the Mobius is that you knit it all in one go. There is no right side or wrong side, and it just has like one edge. So this edge goes all the way around, and there is just like one edge. If you haven't done it before, I highly recommend having a go because it's quite good fun. It's one of those magical things that you can't quite work out how it works, but it's really good fun. So I knitted that one very, very quickly on 5mm needles, and I'm really looking forward to teaching it this weekend. You can see here I just did one strand of the cereal alpaca silk, and then here I held it double. There I held it double, but I really like it. It gives it a slightly kind of textured effect with holding the two strands double, I think. Really, really like it. So enough about that one. I also knitted a little mini Mobius, which is like color coded. So the purple is the cast on and the blue is the cast off, just to show how it works. So that is, I spent most of last weekend working on that. So once I'd finished all that Mobius stuff, I was keen to start another project. Yes, I do have some other projects that are on the needles that I really need to finish. I've got a shawl in one of those cyber pattern rings that I really need to finish. I've got some ideas for some other designs knitted in Monosol Uruguay Fino, but I was really keen to play with this idea of Mobius. And I've also been doing a lot of brioche knitting lately, and I was very keen to do something more brioche designs. So I decided, what if I combine brioche knitting with Mobius design? Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I am actually doing a project blog about this, hopefully, if it works out. So I knitted a swatch. This is not the yarns I'm actually using for the project, which you might say, well, why knit a swatch if you're not using these yarns for the project? I am using one of the yarns. I'm using this grey one, but then for this swatch I use a lilac one. I'm not using that lilac one for the project, although I really like these two colours together. But I'm using that grey one as kind of like my background colour. When I put this watch down, I kind of flung it, so I thought I'd better pick it up so I don't lose it. Let's put that there. So I'm using this mini skein rainbow collection from YarnAddict, and it is yak socks. It's a blend of superwash merino, yak and nylon. And there is one colour missing, which is a blue, tealy blue one on the side here. So I'm going to work my way across this rainbow. It's a muted rainbow because it's made, it started on the yak base, and yak is kind of a bit grey brown colour. I haven't seen natural yak for a while, but I think it's got sort of like a grey brown colour when it's before it's dyed. So it gives you very muted colours. So that's the blue I'm knitting with at the moment, and then I'm using a grey Lang Merino 200, and this is what it's looking like so far. So I haven't knitted very much. I kind of feel like I've cast on too many stitches. So the reason I knitted this swatch, I didn't want to knit with a rainbow yarn because I didn't want to break up my rainbow yet. But the yarn that I knitted this in, so the grey yarn I'm using as the background colour, and this yarn is a similar thickness and the same meterage as the rainbow mini skein set I'm using, so I thought it would work out for working out the tension. I feel like this is knitting up much looser, and I feel like I got an awful lot of stitches on here, so I may actually, I think I'll probably knit a few more rounds and then knit it onto a longer cable so I can get a rough idea for how big it is. But I think I probably have to rip back. I may have to go down a needle size because it is looking very loose to me. So I'm not sure. May have to rip that back. I'm not going to talk too much more about that because I am doing a project vlog on that, so that will be available at some point in the future when I actually finish this thing, if I finish it. If I decide it doesn't work as a Mobius, I will just do it as a regular cow, but I'm hoping it will work as a Mobius. So a couple of magazines have come out recently featuring my design. So this is Knitting issue 233. That is an absolute beautiful shawl on the cover, but that's not my design. I'm not sure who that is. I'll see if I can find it as I flick through the magazine. So I'm going to show you my design. There's some really nice kind of summery designs in here, but also some that are suitable for other seasons. Because we don't get bright sunny weather like we've had for the last week all summer here in the UK. My top is a very summery top, sleeveless, lacy. It's knitted in Cascade Yarns Heritage Silk, which is a wool and silk blend. So it does have that little bit of a warmth in it, warmth with the wool in it. They do a huge range of colour, and I've actually used it for a few other designs as well in other colours. Here is a model underneath this wrap. So even though it's a summer design, you could use it in the winter as well. You could dress it up, dress it down, wear it with jeans, dress it up in smart trousers or a smart skirt. You could wear it as a kind of like with a party outfit in the winter, or underneath cardigans or smart jackets for work. So it's not just a summer design. I like to make things that can be used across seasons, especially living here in the UK where summers tend to be short and not always that hot. This is the shawl that's on the cover, and it's knitted in Cyberball 100. I did wonder actually whether it was Cyberball because I recognise those colours. So that's the shawl that's on the cover, and that is by Brona Miskelly. Absolutely beautiful. Really like that as well. So let's have a look at the actual top itself, because it did come back recently. So it's quite slightly loose fitting, slightly longer length. It's knitted in the round to the underarm from the bottom up, knitted in the round to the underarm, so there's no side seam here to interrupt the lace pattern. And then you split for the underarms, and then you knit the front and the back separately to the shoulders. Join the shoulders by doing a 3-needle cast off. Then you pick up stitches around the armholes and around the neckline, and just knit a few rows of garter stitch to finish it off. So if you wanted it longer or shorter, you can just, this is just knitted straight up, so you can stop that earlier if you wanted, or you can knit longer if you want a longer top. And it's a very simple lace pattern. It's got a slightly kind of vintagey feel. I really like it. I wish it was my size. I wish I had time to knit myself one, but don't have time for that. And then another magazine came out, and that's the Knitter, issue 178. And that is my design on the cover. Isn't that beautiful? That was knitted by one of my sample knitters, and because of that I didn't recognize it when the magazine came. I looked at it and I thought, oh, that's pretty, I really like that. And then I thought, it's not mine, I don't think. And then I opened the magazine and I went, oh yes it is. So look at that, isn't it gorgeous? It's quite a big shawl. It is knitted in the Fibre Company's Meadow yarn, which is a blend of merino wool, llama, silk and linen. So it's got a little bit of kind of yarns with linen always have a slight kind of texture to it, I think. But it's warm, it's silky, it's got a lovely drape, it's a heavy lace weight, which means that it has about just under 500 meters per 100 gram skein. 498 meters per 100 gram skein, and I use 2 skeins. But because of the shape, it's really easy to adjust the size. If you want to make it smaller, you can basically start the edging after any of the charts. But that shows you the shape. It's a very wearable shape, especially if you like to wear your shawls like a shawl. You can also wrap it up around your neck. Really nice issue this, got some really pretty designs in it. Love the model on the cover, really pleased with that cover design, and the yarn is absolutely beautiful. So that is the Knitter 178, and both the Knitter and Knitting Magazine are in the shops in the UK at the moment. Okay, so you may remember that I have in recent videos complained a bit about my needle storage solution. I have the ChowGoo needles, and the ChowGoo needles comes in this set, and it's looking a bit dirty. I took it all out a couple of months ago and I washed it in the washing machine, but it still looks a bit kind of discolored. I don't know, just looks a bit tatty. Anyway, so it has on the back here, it's got a zip, and the cables for interchangeable cables are stored in here, and I have so many cables, different sizes, different lengths, and it was just a nightmare. Every time I wanted to find a cable, I had to take it all out. Now I have left some cables in here, and they're cables I don't use very often. So I have the cables I left in here are the ones for the thicker needles. So ChowGoo do separate cables for the needles from 5mm and smaller, and 5.5mm and bigger. So the big cables, I've only got a couple. I don't use them very often, so they are still in here. And then I've also got my some very short ones, because I don't use them very often. For some reason I got several of those very short ones. I never ever use them. And then I've also got some, hang on, let me just put these back in, another very short one. I don't like using the very short cables. I don't know why I have so many of them. Let me put that back in there. And then the 2.5mm interchangeable needle tips. I think 2.5mm and smaller. They come with these really thin cables and smaller connectors. And I don't like these really thin cables. So if I'm knitting socks with ChowGoos, rather than using my interchangeable 2.5mm needles with this cable, I use fixed circulars that are 2.5mm, because the fixed ones comes with the normal cables, and the interchangeable ones come with these really thin cables, and I don't really like those. So I don't use those very often. So I've left those in here in the bag, because I don't use those very often. And then I had loads of needles kind of stuffed in the middle here with a couple of needle gauges. They're still there. And then obviously I got all my needle tips and stuff here. And I got my ChowGoos here. I got some higher ones here. I got some licking needle tips here, and they're all just stuffed in here together. So what I've done now is I've taken out all the cables that I use regularly, and I had this see-through case that came, it's from Rituals, which is a skincare company. I bought some stuff from them last summer, I think, and it came, I bought some toiletries that came in this bag, but I never used this bag. I think the idea was that you could use it as a travel toiletry bag, but it's too big to take through an airport in your hand luggage. It's probably nearly twice as big as what you're allowed to take, so I've never used it, but it's good because I can see what's in here. So what I'm keeping in here is I've got a needle gauge, then I got my tin from Beautiful Knitters, which with these kind of stitch holder things in. Oh, while I'm talking about this, these stitch holders are fantastic. I really like them. But and they come with these things. So you basically, so I've got the ones that came from Beautiful Knitters that came in this tin. It was 2 of the purple ones and 1 of the lime fluorescent yellow ones. And you basically push. And then I bought a whole bunch of these, a big bag of these in Norway. And this one's actually one I've cut to half the size, but it's basically like a thin tube. And you push this onto your needle tape, and then you can pull it through your stitches. So if you want to put your stitches on hold, it's really, really good. And then the Beautiful Knitters kit came with these, and you just take both ends through, and then your stitches don't fall off. But I bought a big bag full of these in Norway last Christmas. But it just came with these tubes in loads of different colours. I really need more of these. I don't know what they're called. What are they called? They're like duffel coats have them? Anyone know what they're called? If you know what they're called, tell me, because I need to get some more of them. Anyway, I really like, a lot of places seem to be doing these tube things now. I don't really know what they're called, stitch holder tubes or something. But the tin I got from Beautiful Knitters is quite useful to hold it all together. So that goes in there. And then I got these zipped mesh bags. I think they're all from Kiko, which is a skincare company. I'm not sure if they have any shops in the UK anymore. They used to, but I think a lot of them have shut. But when we go to Spain, there where my parents have their flat, they have a Kiko. So I buy a lot of Kiko stuff when I'm there. And these are actually stuff I bought a few years ago. And I wish I'd looked when we were there last month to see if they had any more, because I could really do with a couple more of these. And I looked on their website and they don't sell them anymore, which is a bit annoying. But I've got several of these. I think they're all Kiko. And what I've done is divided up the cables. Hang on, let me just try not to drop all this stuff on the floor. So what I've done is I've divided all the cables. Actually, looking at this black one is not Kiko, that's H&M. I was just looking at the label to see whether they were all Kiko. So this black one is H&M. So what I've done is I've taken this one for my smaller, shorter cables. So we got Lykke, Chow-gu and Lykke and Chow-gu cables in here. And they're kind of like the cables that make up 80 centimeter needles or shorter, I think. And I got a new Chow-gu cable I haven't used yet. So they're kind of the shorter ones, the ones that you probably use the most often, both Lykke and Chow-gu. And then I got one that's empty. And then I got one for the really long cables. So these are very, very long cables. And then I have one for the medium length cables, which are about 100 to 120 centimeter long cables. But they're actually, I've only got a couple of those and they're in use because I use those for the 120 centimeter longs cables. And I've been using those a lot lately for my various Mobius things. So I got the long, what I consider to be the normal ones. So now I've got them in here. I don't feel like I have as many, but it's also easier to find the length I'm looking for rather than to pull them all out of here. Now I can actually fit that case in there as well, so they can all go in here like that, and I can keep it all together. So I'm really pleased with that, because the needle storage solution has been driving me mad for a long time, and this is much better than what I was dealing with before. In 2010, I designed a shawl called Simplicity. It was my very easiest shawl, and it was so that when I did shows or workshops or anything and people said I want the absolutely easiest shawl, I had one that was very, very simple to give them. And it's called Simplicity. And the pattern had not been updated since 2010. And the way I wrote the pattern back then is not the way I write patterns now. And I didn't think the pattern was written in a way that made it very clear. So I decided to have the samples re-knitted up and rewrite the pattern. And it's ready to be released. Re-released rather. So the pattern is available from Ravelry and Payhip. And if you purchase it in the past on Ravelry, you will have received the update when I updated, which I'm doing between filming this and this video being on YouTube. So it comes in two versions, and both versions are included in the pattern. This is a triangular version, which I knitted on holiday in Spain in May. And you can see it has these eyelets and garter stitch. So it very much lets you focus on the shape and getting the shaping right. And then you just got a few eyelets every so often. So it's just knit two together, yarn over. Very, very simple. And this is knitted in one skein of Monosol Uruguay Fino. And then we also have a half hexagon version. like that, which is also knitted in Monosol Uruguay Fino, and this version was knitted by one of my lovely sample knitters, Lucy, who knitted this one up for me recently. So I'm really pleased because I got those to display now at my next yarn show, which will be the Summer Wool Show, which is next weekend. It's on the 30th and 31st of July at Redbourne School, Amtill, near Bedford, near Milton Keynes. It's a Milton Keynes postcode. I think it's actually near Bedford. It's a Summer Wool Festival.co.uk. I'm having a stall and I'm also teaching. I will put the link below if you live in that area or you fancy a day out and you want to come and visit. My workshop on the Sunday is fully booked, but this pattern is now available on PayHip for the first time, and it's been available on Ravelry for years. So if you've purchased it in the past, you'll get a new version. It'll be in your library to download. And if you haven't purchased it yet, you can choose whether you want to purchase it on Ravelry or PayHip. So I'm really pleased about that. And then there's another pattern which was originally in the Knitter magazine. This will probably be released next week. I need to take photos. Hoping to be able to get some photos this afternoon after I finish filming this. By the way, if you can hear coughing in the background, I do apologise. My husband has got the post-COVID cough. He's been coughing a lot this afternoon. He's in the room next to me. There's only a bathroom between us, so I hope you can't hear him coughing, but you might be able to. So this is what was originally in the Knitter magazine, or it might have been Simply Knitting. I'm not sure. It might have been Simply Knitting, it might have been the Knitter, I'm not sure. But it was called the Summer Sun Shawl. I guess that's because it was yellow. It's knitted in an alpaca blend. And I can't remember the yarn company, but I think it's a yarn company that's no longer in business. So this yellow sample I'm actually going to sell probably early August. I'll be on my website. So if you fancy buying this yellow sample, if you want to buy it, actually, send me a message. But it will be on my website in early August in the sample sale section. I had it re-knitted up by my lovely sample knitter Anita, who knitted it up in Monosol Uruguay Fino, and we decided to make it bigger and a 2-skein version. But it's one where you can basically stop at any time. So you start at the bottom of the triangle, then you work upwards. So once it's big enough for you, you can just cast off. Just get to the end of the pattern, repeat and cast off. It's got this lacy edging along the edges and then garter stitch in the middle, so it's really easy. Perfect if you're new to lace knitting or shawl knitting, and very, very quick and easy if you're an experienced knitter. I love the size of it. It's nice and big, but if you are smaller than me or you want a smaller shawl, you can easily make it smaller, just cast off earlier. So you can easily make it a 1-skein version. I haven't got photos of this yet, just because it's been too hot to model shawls, and it's been really sunny, and taking photos in bright sunlight is not very easy. So I'm hoping we can get some photos today, because it's not raining and it's not sunny, but it's very, very windy. So I don't know how easy it's going to be to photograph lace shawl in the wind. So we'll see, but that's what I'm hoping for. But it will be out next week sometime. It may be out on the same day as this video comes out. Just depends on whether I when I get photos taken, because that's all we're waiting for is the photos. So it will be out before the Summer Wool Show, and I will have all these patterns, this one and the Simplicity Shawl. I will have those, plus loads of my other patterns available at the Summer Wool Show. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Tell me what's on your needles. Did you knit anything in this heat wave if you're in the UK? I think there's a heat wave in large parts of the world. Several parts of Europe are having a heat wave at the moment. Several parts of the US looks like they're having a heat wave. Loads of fires going on. It's quite a serious situation. So wherever you are, I hope you're safe and that you've not been caught up in any of these terrible fires or droughts or anything that's going on. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.